Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good evening, Memerita. We are from Group A, and we are like to present our topic, namely phonological alternation processes and rules. Before we start, let me introduce myself first. So my name is Satria Jati Pangestu with last student number 165, and I'm not alone here. There are my friends too. There are Rifda Anindya Hidayati with last study number 161, Putra Kurnia with last study number 162, Zulafa Bulan Sarwahita with last student number 166, and Novia Fitri Bayu with last student number 167. Okay, so the first one is about introduction. There are three phonological, there is alternation, processes, and rules. The first one is alternation. So alternation is a variation of words caused by morpheme, their their derivatives, and their grammatical form words. The second is processes. Processes is the pattern of sound errors that typically developing children use to simplify speech as they are learning to talk. The third is rules. So the rules is the part of communication through language, whether spoken or written, and knowing what they are and why they exist can help us better understand our words. And underlying and surface form, for example, is S in cats and Z in caps or S is in bases. So the next will explain by my friends.
So, hello everyone, my name is Rifda Hidayati with last student number 162. I will be explaining about alternation types. So, there are four types of sound alternation. One is phonetically conditioned, the second is phonetically and morphologically conditioned, three is phonetically, morphologically, and lexically conditioned, and the last is non-phonological, or we call it suppletion. So the first one is phonetically conditioned. It is the alternation that are conditioned purely by the phonetic environment in which the phones in question occur, with no other factors being relevant. So consider the sound between with and wind. So the English speakers will find difficult to avoid nasalizing vowels before nasal consonants in the voice of wind. And if a vowel phone is in English is followed by a nasal consonant, the vowel is nasalized. So the designation of such alternation is obligatory in English. The second is phonetically and morphologically conditioned. We are calling this because the alternations are conditioned phonetically and morphologically. This alternation type is obligatory and automatic. For example, we have leaf versus leaves, house versus houses. This is depend on the form of plural word. The plural form is dependent on the nature of the final segment of the sound stem. If the noun ends in a sibilant, sibilant sound is the sound that is produced by forcing air out toward your teeth so that it caused hissing and buzzing sounds such as s, z, sh, z, and ch. And if the noun ends in a sibilant, the plural takes the form z. And if the noun ends in a voiceless non-sibilant, the plural takes the form s. If the noun ends in a voiced non-sibilant, it becomes z. And the third one is phonetically, morphologically, and lexically conditioned alternations. Such alternations are conditioned phonetically, morphologically, and lexically. For example, we have electric versus electricity. In electric, the C is sound as k, and in electricity, it is sound as s. The other example is reptile versus reptilian, which in reptile sound, the sound produced is as I, and in reptilian, it is sound as A. It has happened because the vowel shift or trisyllable shortening occurs, namely the final vowel I in reptile change into A in reptilian before the hyphen vowel segment E in the derivational morpheme on the suffix "-ian". And reptile is a noun and reptilian is an adjective. The last one is non-phonological alternation. There are no phonological processes involved in getting from mouse to mice or from go to when. It has happened because it is depend on the grammatical or the structure of each words. For example, mouse versus mice. It is when we describe one mouse, we use word mouse, and if we want to describe so many mouse, we don't use mouses, but we use mice.
Now I will explain about phonological processes. Phonological processes are kind of phonological operation that results in the sound alternation. They include feature-changing rules such as assimilation and dissimilation, deletion, insertion, or appenthesis, metathesis, and reduplication. Firstly is feature-changing rules, which include nasal assimilation and nasal dissimilation. Nasal assimilation is a process in which two sounds becomes more alike, and nasal dissimilation, which assimilation where kind of assimilation in which a sound influences the following segment. For example, the last sound k, and s in book, back, was respectively influence the sound s in books, backs, and buses. Deletion. Deletion is a process that removes a segment from certain phonetic context. It is expressed in terms of segment becoming zero. In English, a schwa is often deleted when the next vowel in the word is stressed. For example, suppose, from suppose to spus. Next one is insertion or appenthesis. Insertion is a process that inserts a segment into a particular environment. It is expressed in terms of inserting some segment A by starting with zero. For example, something is pronounced in helpful speech with someone instead of someone. Metathesis. Metathesis is a process of reversing the sequence of elements, often segments in a word. For example, bird to bird in modern English. They changed the vocal from third segment to the second segment. And lastly, reduplication. Reduplication is a process of copying part of word, then attaching the copy to the original word. In English, reduplication is peripheral. For example, helter skelter, willy nilly, pooh and pooh.
Here I want to explain about phonological rules. So, phonological rules consist of some phonological elements. Is A, B, X, Y. This means A becomes B while it is in X and Y. So phonological rules have four rules. I'll explain the first and second rules. The first rules is parenthesis notation. Parenthesis notation is used as a form of device for collapsing two similar rules when one contains a specification lacking in the other. Parenthesis is used to enclose optional elements in rules. The form is, as you can see, equal A becomes B either between X and Z or between X, Y, and Z. And the second one is recess. Recess or curly brackets is used to represent represent an either or relationship between two environments. Where braces are used, each rule to be collapsed contains restriction among in the other. With parentheses, only one of the rules has an additional restriction. The form of braces is A, as you can see. A becomes B, either between X, Y, or between Z and Y. Okay, for one of the example, as you can see in page 40 and 41, the first example of parenthesization is in page 40. For example, L memorization in English. Most varieties in English have clear L, example in live, and dark L or polarized L, example in found. L memorization occurs either at the end of the word or before a consonant at the end of the word. There is an optional consonant which may intervene between the L and the hashtag. Hashtag is mean bound the word. Okay, so L is velarized if it is at the end of the word or before a consonant at the end of the word. This example for parenthesis notation. Next is example of braces is in page 41. It's bed and petrol. In bed, T is capitalized at the end of the word, and in petrol, T is capitalized before another consonant. So T is capitalized at the end of the word and capitalized before another consonant. Okay, next is presented by my friends.
The third is superscript and subscript. Superscripts and subscripts express the minimum and maximum numbers of segments. Subscript numbers index the minimum number of elements required for the rule to apply, and superscript number indicates the maximum number of elements required for the rule to apply. And the fourth is alpha notation is used for feature matching generalization. Okay, that's all from me. Okay, that's all from our presentation group from group 8, and thank you very much.